selection of trusted observations taken from the population. For example, a population might be all apples in an orchard at a given.
Okay, let's continue. Now I'm going to take you through video clip. Just now you already had a discussion with the previous section with the lecturer regarding sampling techniques and all, right? Methodology, right? Okay, now I'm going to take you through this video, and through this video you will understand what are the different techniques of sampling. Which will strengthen your understanding how to do the right technique of sampling. Okay? So let's go through.
It is common practice to take a sample. A sample is a selection of objects or observations taken from the population of interest. For example, a population might be all apples in an orchard at a given time. We wish to know how big the apples are.
So sample is actually a representative of the population. Like you have the orchard apples, right? You cannot be taking all the apples that you block and then look at the quality. So you take a sample. You have a manufacturing floor, you have a production about 1,000 units every day. You can take all the 1,000 units and then measure the quality. Maybe you only take a few as a sample to measure the quality. So sampling is a technique of getting the representation.
We can't measure all of them, so we take a sample of some of them and measure them. The method chosen for taking the sample depends on the nature of the population and the resources available in terms of time and money.
So the method of sampling all depends on how much of time you have, how much of money you have. Okay? They are very dependent. Okay?
The ideal is for each object in the population to be equally likely to be chosen as part of the sample. This is called an unbiased sample.
So when you are doing sampling, you must be seen to be unbiased. Meaning to say anything that you choose is a good representation of the population. You just take it as you like, then people take it biased. In your research work, you must be unbiased.
It is also desirable for the sample to be representative of the population. If the population of apples were 2/3 red and 1/3 green, the sample should be similarly split.
So when you're doing a sampling, it must be a good representation. So in this example, if there are 2/3 in the population are red apple, green apple 1/3. So when you take the sample, it should also be 2/3 red, 1/3. In your area, for example, if you are making a sampling of a population, I think some of you are talking about online shopping. Right? If you are taking a population, okay, of you're looking at Ho Chi Minh City online buying, and the demography tells you that people are of the age between 20 to 35 is 60%. Age 20 to 35 is 60%. So when you do your sampling, you must make sure your sample actually have 60% of people within the age group of 20 to 30. Yeah? Otherwise, you're not right. Otherwise, you just take your respondents, different age group, you put together, then it is called bias. Okay? So this is important in the sampling technique. It must be a good representation. The percentage that you take must really represent. Okay? So you cannot be like you take a percentage which is not really truly representative. Okay? So please be reminded that you must have the right size of sampling from the population. A very good example is the age group. When you take the respondent, right, you must be careful.
Note that no matter what we do, there will always be sampling error or variation due to sampling.
So how accurate we are, still we are prone for some minor errors. That's the reason why in statistical analysis, you always have confidence level. You remember the confidence level? You always have that. Why? Because no matter how good you are, you will still have certain percentage of errors.
As we are looking at a part of the population, not the whole population. The video on variation covers these concepts more thoroughly. This video presents 5 methods of sampling.
So here, I'm going to share with you the 5 methods generally used in sampling. Simple random, convenient sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling. So with this video, you will understand how to conduct a simple random, convenient sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, and stratified sampling.
Simple random sampling, convenient sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, and stratified sampling. For each method, we will outline the process and the advantages and disadvantages. Simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is
Now let's look at the simple random sampling.
theoretically the ideal method of sampling. You list each member of the population and use random numbers to decide which objects are in the sample. Each object is equally likely to be selected.
So simple random sampling, you just put them together, okay, in a row, in a list, like the number of companies that you have, okay, or the number of population, the number of students that you want to survey, and you just choose them. Without even looking at the name, you just choose. So that's called simple random.
This produces an unbiased sample, which we hope is representative. However, it can be difficult and expensive.
It is an unbiased because you're not looking at the name. But will it represent if you are doing a study on a region? For example, in Vietnam, you have several provinces, right? Maybe your sample all come from one province more compared to the other province. So this technique will have some difficulty.
To take a simple random sample when dealing with people. Simple random sampling is more practical when the population is geographically concentrated and when a good sampling frame exists. A sampling frame is a list of all the people or objects in the...
Take note here another word, sampling frame. Sampling frame. Sampling frame refers to a list of samples that you have. That's called sampling frame. The list of samples that you have is called sampling frame.
Population of interest. Simple random sampling can be more easily implemented for natural and manufacturing populations.
So normally, where do you apply simple random sampling? Simple random sampling is applied in manufacturing environment. Okay. Now, for example, whenever the supervisor walks the floor, he usually takes 1 or 2 minutes and check all this. Okay. You don't have a structured process. Whenever you feel like you're trying to do stuff, take up and that's how you do it. So normally this happens in manufacturing environment. Yeah.
Relations. Convenient sample. Convenient sampling is just that, convenient. You ask people nearby or people who walk past at a shopping mall, or you take the next 20 objects off the production line.
The other sampling is convenient sampling. Careful, this is very high. Very high. Most of students, they like to do convenient sampling. Why did you take sample from this person? Oh, because this is my friend. Why do you take sample from this person? Because they know me. If people know you and you find data from them, that's called convenient. Now, for PhD level, convenient sampling is not a sampling. So, the answer is no. Whatever you justify, if you come for a Viva and you say, I use convenient sampling, the answer is out. It is biased. When you ask me to take a survey, I take up the survey just for you. Because I want to support you. Maybe I use my emotion. Answer me. I'm not being objective. I will not criticize. I won't do or take the survey. I'll just use my emotion on the thing.
Do what is easy or convenient. Convenient samples are often biased in some way, but for a quick and cheap poll, it may not really matter. Convenient samples can also have self-selection bias.
So self-selection, whoever you feel comfortable, you go to select.
People choose to participate because they have an interest in the issue in question. Systematic sampling.
Take note, this is a good way of sampling. Systematic is a good way. Example, you have a manufacturing, your survey is on manufacturing, or your survey is on healthcare industry. The best is systematic sampling. Meaning we say you put all the companies in a list from A to Z. By the name, it can be by the name of the company, alphabetical order, or it can be the size of the company, whatever it is in order. Okay, list them down.
With systematic sampling, you choose a starting point at random and then systematically take objects at a certain number apart. For example,
so every 7 apples he's taking, you see that every 7 apples.
There are 1,000 in the population and you want a sample of
he takes. Yeah? So this is what we call systematic. Okay? Very systematically done. Every 5 you take, every 7 you take, or every 10, depending on how much. Okay? It is not in the morning they share with you if your population is 1,000, how many samples you need. Did they share with you the table? Yeah. So that Morgan's table, that is Morgan's table, okay, they suggest to you how many samples you need to take. So based on that, you know already, after every 5 or every 6 or every 10, you just take the sample. To meet that number, the 200 or 300. Okay? So this is a very good way of sampling, systematic sampling.
50, you will take every 20th object. Systematic samples are easier to administer than simple random samples and are usually a good approximation of a random sample. However, if there is a pattern in the population, certain types of objects could be chosen more or less often than others. Cluster sampling.
So the only risk of systematic sampling is sometimes if you might be getting the same type of characteristics. That is the only risk. But that's okay, as long as it is not biased. Now let's look at another sampling which is called a cluster sampling. Cluster, what do you understand by cluster? Cluster means group. Cluster means group. Okay? So cluster sampling, let's hear what cluster sampling means.
In cluster sampling, the population is divided into clusters which are then chosen at random. For example, departments of a business can be clusters or suburbs within a city. Within each cluster, all of the objects are included in the sample. Cluster sampling can be more convenient and practical than simple random sampling. However, if the clusters are different from each other with regard to the elements we are measuring, it can lead to bias or non-representativeness.
Now, cluster sampling, an example of cluster sampling is in companies we have HR department, the finance department, accounting department, manufacturing department, and all that. So department. Now, when you're taking a sampling, assuming employee satisfaction, example, employee satisfaction, job satisfaction, right? So you take 2 from HR, 2 from finance, 2 from operations, 2 from management, and so on, right? So that is called cluster sampling. Why? Because each department you are taking is called cluster sampling. Maybe when you are doing your research, you say the education level has an influence on employee motivation. Example, education level has got an influence on employee motivation. Okay? say employee motivation. You are measuring employee motivation. You say there are many factors. Factor 1, factor 2, factor 3. Okay. One of these is education level. You say education level got an influence on employee motivation. Maybe a guy with a diploma or a bachelor's degree, there's a difference on employee motivation. Okay, so you want to measure this. But when you take the employee samples from different departments, HR, accounts, and operations and so on, what if the samples here turn out to be all bachelors or all diploma? Then that is the risk. What if they turn out to be all bachelors? That is the only risk in cluster sampling. Okay? So that's why I told you earlier, whatever sampling method you choose, there will always be an error, percentage of error. Okay? These are the risks. Okay?
Stratified sampling. Stratified sampling seems like cluster sampling, but the strata or groups are chosen specifically to represent different characteristics within the population, such as ethnicity, location, age, or occupation. Within each group, a random sample is taken, sometimes in proportion to the size of the group. Stratified sampling can lead to a very good random representative sample.
Now, so because of the weaknesses that you see in cluster sampling, so you go for stratified sampling. So what is stratified sampling? Because I want to measure employee motivation and I got different departments, I say I'm now only going to look at people who have got masters in each of these departments. Already grouping is already a cluster. Inside the cluster, or if I just take this up, inside this cluster, I have many different levels, right? Inside this cluster, I got people with diploma, I got people with bachelors, I got people with masters. So my sampling, I'm only going to focus on this, but inside this department. Then this is called stratified sampling. You see that? So stratified sampling is a very high level type of sampling. Very good for PhD. Cluster is very good. Systematic is very good. So these are three techniques that I would recommend you for having your sampling method. Systematic, cluster, and stratified. If your population is very big and one of your variables is age or education level and so on, then you better go into stratified. Much more better.
So is demographics only the way to use to stratify the foster something?
It can be many things. Like for example, the years of experience, number of years of experience, working experience, can also be. Okay. Other than that, it can be gender. Gender is demographic. Okay. Years of experience can be, marital status can be. So there can be a lot of things. Depending on what you want to measure. Okay? You're saying gender has got an influence on me. Okay? So then it's very concerned.
The combination of something
Okay? In one study, normally you apply only one study. Because the two here are referring to the motion. You have one set of tools. In the event you want to make a comparative study, then you use two sets of questionnaire. Then you will have two sets of questionnaire. Otherwise, it's just one method. Does it make your life easy compared to just a PowerPoint, literally a video clip to get you to strengthen your understanding?
Those are very good.
Huh?
Those are very good.
Very good.
To visualize.
Yeah, to visualize that. Visualize and get your understanding compared to just words. You just look at those, just remember this video and you will know. Don't ever go into convenience sampling. That is dangerous. Dangerous. Not acceptable. Okay? And then the random sampling also don't go into it. The best I would say is systematic sampling, and then the rest are stratified and also cluster sampling. These are the best. Okay? So don't go into unnecessary sampling technique and end up with problems. Okay?
Choosing which statistical test.
Now I'm going to run another video for you. Which statistical test you need to use for what? Okay? Even though just now they already taken you through, just to recap your memory, let's just quickly go through what type of test you need to use. Okay?
Theories. There are many different tests you can use in statistics. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to know which is the correct test to use.
There's a lot of statistics, measurement, analytical tools that you can use for statistics purposes. And sometimes it might also be confusing for you. One guy say test hypothesis using R square. Another guy say test hypothesis using beta. Another guy say test hypothesis chi square. Another guy say no, you use regression. Another guy say use correlation. Okay? Right? So it all depends on what is your objective of the study. Okay? Based on that, you set your statistical tool.
This video includes 7 tests you are likely to use involving means, proportions, and relationships. When you are trying to work out which is the most appropriate test, there are 3 questions you should ask. 1. What level of measurement was used for the data we are analysing? 2. How many samples do we have? 3. What is the purpose of our analysis?
So there are basically 3 questions that you need to ask when you are choosing the type of test that you need to do. Number 1 is, what is the source of the data? What are the data that you are collecting? Then who are your samples? And the third one is, what is the purpose of this study? You need to understand it. Is your purpose of study to study relationship? Is your purpose of study for exploration? Is your purpose of study just a descriptive? Okay? Then only you choose the type of analysis.
I will now explain each of these questions. 1. Data or level of measurement. Is our data nominal or interval ratio? Nominal data is all.
So when you talk about data, there are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio type of data. Okay? I think just now you already had the notes, right? I think that my notes are quite comprehensive. From the notes are very comprehensive. So give you a good example of how to look at nominal data, ordinal data, interval data, and ratio data. And for you, for PhD, you all use interval data. Okay? In your instrument, your tool, or your research tool, you will be using interval data. Okay? Yes, you will use nominal and ordinal. Yes. Why? When do you use nominal? Nominal you use when you are looking at gender, male or female. Nothing much you can do, right? And ordinal when you look at, in order, the preference, number 1, number 2, number 3. And most of the time, your questionnaire, you are going to set an interval. The advantage of interval is you have equal proportion between one scale to another. The 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, 3 to 4, the difference are equally the same. Okay, and that's what Likert scale is. So you are using Likert scale in your case. Yeah.
So-called categorical, qualitative, or non-parametric. Examples of
So nominal are also called as categorical. Category, male or female category. Bachelor's, master's category. Yeah, categorical. You also call them as qualitative or non-parametrics. Okay.
nominal data are colour, whether parts are defective or not, or preferred type of chocolate.
In this case, colors. Specific. You cannot say it looks like yellow, but then it's red. Cannot, right? Yellow is yellow, red is red, right? So these are called nominal data. Very fixed, huh? There's no such thing in between, huh?
Nominal summary values are usually stated as frequencies, proportions, or percentages. The tests that involve nominal data are test for a proportion.
Ignore that. If you're using nominal data, what are the tests you do? Test for proportion. What is the percentage of yellow color versus red color versus black color? Proportion.
Difference of two proportions and chi-square test for independence.
So you also use chi-square, okay, of independence for nominal data. Okay.
The other type of data is interval ratio. Also,
Take note, this is where your focus is. Your main study is on interval data. Okay, this is where you have to focus.
quantitative.
So this is called quantitative analysis, or scientifically we call inferential statistics. We call it as inferential statistics. Earlier you call descriptive statistics. You just describe how many red color, how many black color. After you don't go beyond. But interval data, you take it for your inferential statistics. Okay? Sometimes they also call as quantitative analysis. They don't say inferential, but they call it as quantitative.
Examples of interval ratio data are daily sales figures for chocolates, weight of peanuts, or temperature.
Things like this. Temperature. Today the room temperature is tomorrow 20, tomorrow 26, then after 22, then 28, right? So they go on a scale, right? They've got a scale, right? So the scale is measured. Okay?
The most common summary value for interval ratio data is a mean. Tests that involve interval ratio data are test for a mean, difference of two means independent samples, difference of two means paired, and regression analysis.
These are the tests that we use. And most of you, if you are using a hypothesis, you will test for why regression? Because regression shows the relationship between X and the independent variable and dependent variable. Shows you the relationship. That's why I saw on the board. They put the dots, right? Each dot they put here is actually a point, a sample, one unit. So you will be using regression. Regression gives you a good picture of studying the relationship. For example, the line you see here, how close the dots are to the line. The more closer the dots are to the line, we need to say they are strong. They've got a strong relationship, significant relationship. Okay? I think this one they would have talked to you just now, right? So in your interval ratio data, these are the type of tests that you can do. You can test for mean, arithmetic average, mean, okay? And differences of the two means. Independent sample, you got two independent samples, you got to look at the differences in the means. Or difference of two means which are paired, and regression. So most of the time you do this and you do this. These are the two tests you will do in interval data.
So considering the fact that the this particular kind of test and the internal issues. Would there be any consequence if we use SPSS in analyzing the data? Because I know with my MBA, this is like close to what I did and what I use. So will there be any kind of consequence, or will there be a pitfall if one has to use SPSS for simple?
No problem. SPSS, we use it for this, and tomorrow we are going to use PLF software. A better software in terms of your ease to use, easy to use. That is PLS. Tomorrow we introduce to you. Please, that session is an important session. Please attend because PLS workshop we don't conduct it. But here we give you support PLS, and you can have an access for 1 month of that. Don't need to license. Smart PLS. Right? So it can use PLS.
For more help on levels of measurement, see our video, Types of Data, Nominal, Ordinal, Interval Ratio. Ordinal data can be classified with nominal or interval ratio depending on the circumstances. 2. Samples. Next, we ask how many samples are involved. Is there one sample for which we are testing a relevant statistic against a hypothesized value? Or are there 2 samples which are being compared with each other?
So, to answer your question just now, right? So, the type of sampling also includes the type of statistical analysis. Okay? Assuming that you've got 2 types of sample, okay? 2 sets of samples, one set, another set. Okay?
Or is there one sample, but each observation has a measure or score for more than one variable? The same sample is measured twice. If we wish to compare a proportion or a mean against a given value, this will involve one sample. If we are comparing 2 different lots of people or things, such as men and women, or people from 2 different departments, then we would have 2 samples. If we have 2 sets of information on the same people or things, we would...
So you can see here, if you have 2 sets of observation, okay, then this is where you use the different type of tests. You can also use a t-test. Apart from the 2 mean of that arithmetic tests.
Saying we have one sample with 2 variables. An example is one set of days in information.
So you saw that one sample got 2 things that you're measuring. Maybe one sample you take, but you measure the age, you measure the education level. Okay?
On how many chocolates are sold and what the temperature was. Or one set of people and information on their gender and preferred type of chocolate. Finally, we ask, what is the purpose of the analysis? We can be testing against a hypothesized value, comparing 2 statistics, or looking for a relationship.
So what is the purpose of the study? Also tells you what type of analysis you need to use. If you are just making a relationship study, making a relationship comparative study, it is different. Okay? Or you're just only making a descriptive study, is different.
Chi-square tests for independence and regression are similar in that they are looking at the relationship between 2 variables.
So you can use chi-square test for studying 2 independent variables, or you can use regression for studying independent versus dependent variables.
The difference between them is in the kind of data. If you would summarize the data in a table, we would use a chi-square test for independence. Whereas if you would put it on a scatter plot, we would use regression analysis.
So you see, when do you have a chi-square and a regression? So my suggestion to you is, when testing the variables, use the regression and scatter plot. That is the best way to do it. Very easily visualized. By the line you draw itself, you know already how strong the relationship is. Okay. The line you draw, you know already how strong the relationship is. If like this relationship is very strong. Okay? But if the dots are here, is the relationship, but the relationship is not strong. And if you have a line like this, and the dots are like this, perfect, perfect, but we seldom get. If a student come and show me a scatter plot, this way, I can tell something he has manipulated the data. He or she has manipulated the data. Okay? So we as being examiners, we know how normally it happens. Huh? And then the other one is when you are writing your hypothesis, be careful. Students sometimes they write, they never think about the later implication of writing the hypothesis. Okay? I give you an example. Right. So I know this has been taken just now. Just now your lectures have been taken you through. But I just want to tell you the certain mistakes that students make. And then, simple mistake, but the whole data will be distorted. The data get distorted and then they blank. They panic when they have been questioned. The normal chart, scatter plot chart, you look at this way. Yeah? Meaning to say it is a positive relationship. It's a positive relationship. For example, the higher the salary, let's talk about employees in the production line. The higher the salary, the higher the motivation or productivity. The higher the salary, the higher the productivity. So when you do a survey, you'll get roughly around this much. This is what you're going to get. So you make a hypothesis. The higher the salary being given to the employees, the higher the productivity. So this you call a strong positive relationship. If you get the line this way and all the dots are falling on the line, almost there, then it is perfect relationship. This is what I said, impossible to achieve. On the other hand, let us look at another scenario. The students write a hypothesis saying that the higher the level of supervision in the production line, I repeat, the higher the level of supervision on the production line, the lower the productivity or the lower the motivation. The higher the supervision in the production line, the lower the job satisfaction. If someone is always observing you, you don't like it, right? Your motivation goes down. So how do you think the line will look like? It will look like this. The line will come. Yeah. So the analysis will show this way. Be careful. And if you don't know how to interpret this, you will end up going haywire. Because your hypothesis, the way you write, is this. The higher the supervision, the lower the motivation. So this is called inverse relationship. So your hypothesis when you test, you better be careful. Your data entry, if you don't recode when you enter data, you will end up the answer getting for you, the higher the supervision, the higher the motivation. So you have to make sure your data entry is, you have to recode it. This is something in my experience I've seen people. Everything is perfect. All is right. When it comes to data entry, the recoding is not done. The whole thesis goes A1. Okay? This is regression. I've seen many students making mistakes. The moment we read the scatter plot, I don't need to read the text. I look at the scatter plot, I know already where. Immediately, I will look back into the hypothesis statement. How the hypothesis is. If the hypothesis is not inverse, and the student's output is this, out. Wrong. This is okay. The higher the salary, the higher the productivity. Right? This is okay. But here, so be careful when you're running the statistical analysis. Right? Students tend to make mistakes. You do everything very detailed, but when it comes to this, you make mistakes that end up happening. Okay.
Here is an example for each of these tests. They relate back to our other videos teaching about hypothesis testing. After each description of the scenario, pause the video and see if you can identify the correct test before we tell you the answer. Helen is still selling chocolates. Example 1. Sufficient nuts. Helen was concerned whether the quantity of nuts was sufficient in her chocolates. She took a sample of 20 packets and found the weight of nuts in each packet.
Here is an example of how a test is done. Right? So 20 packets and then the weight of each packet. Okay? 20 packets of chocolate and then weighing each packet. Okay? The weight.
Pause the video. 1. Data. The weight was interval ratio data. 2. Samples. There was just one sample of 20 packets of chocolate.
So the data was interval because different weight. So interval. And then the sample, only one sample, that is chocolate.
3. Purpose. Helen was comparing against a given value. Thus, the test she needs to use is test for a mean.
So very simple. If she want to test, because you need one sample, it's interval. So the first test she needs to do is look at the mean weight of the chocolate. Okay, what's the average?
Example 2. Prize tickets. In a promotional campaign, 20% of all packets of chocolates should include tickets for free prizes. Helen takes a sample of 50 packets and finds that 7 of them have winning tickets. Pause the video. 1. Data. For each bar, we are saying yes or no, depending on whether or not there is a ticket. This is nominal data from which we get a...
So she's taking the chocolate, she's putting a flag to it, a tag to it. Okay? So here it is nominal because it is the same chocolate, okay? And then she's putting a flag, yes or no. Got a flag, got a tag, yes, no. Yes, tag, no tag. So it is ordinal.
Sample proportion of 7 out of 50 or 0.14. Samples. There is one sample of 50 packets. Purpose. Helen is comparing a sample value against a given value, 20%. We conclude that the test she needs to use is a test for a proportion. Example 3.
So the test proportion was the one with the tag, okay, the golden tag. So you can see 20% of them have it, or 80% the other one do not have it. Okay?
Bar longevity compared with nutter bars. Helen thinks her chocolates last longer than the competition nutter bars. She gets 36 people to eat one of each and records their eating times. There was now.
So 36 people eating the chocolate, so she records the time, how much time they take to eat the chocolate.
1. Data. Helen collects times taken in seconds, so this is interval ratio data.
So how much time is taken to eat, okay, is mentioned in second, so it's interval data.
2. Samples. There is one sample of 36 people, but with 2 scores for each person, the time for the chocolate and the time for the nutter bar.
So the samples are 2 sets. One is for sample bars, another one is chocolate, so how much time taken?
3. Purpose. She is looking at whether there is a difference in the amount of time taken for each of the bars. Thus, the test is difference of 2 means paired sample.
So here, the 2 samples are looking at it, and the average for 2 samples, how much time is taken to eat that. So it is a peer. It's a peer test of arithmetic mean. Okay? So that is how you need to identify the type of test. Okay? Not to worry so much. Once you attend the PLS class tomorrow, you will understand more about the types of test. PLS teach you, make your life very, very easy. I know, easily, I think about 80% of your life will be better compared to SPSS. SPSS is very tough. You need to learn first SPSS to use SPSS before you could analyze SPSS. But PLS is like a, a hands-on thing, very easily you can do. Okay? Now, so with that, I've covered, and my colleagues have covered the morning about chapter 3. So we are done with chapter 3. Okay? So now what I would want to do with you is, I just quickly want to recap of the literature we did yesterday. Then after that, I'll leave time for you to do the proposal. Okay? Now this time we're going to do the proposal, chapter 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1, 2, and chapter 3. Chapter 3 you already learned this now, right? So we look at 1, 2, and 3. So again, to continue with literature review, okay, when you are writing your chapter 3 in literature review, even in chapter 3, you need to have how do you choose the methodology and what model do you use in your chapter 3. Okay, so now you can choose the right method to run your analysis and to have the right model to look at your work. But however it is, you still need to fall back to researchers previously conducted research studies, why they choose this type of study for this topic. You must get that. You can't simply say that I would like to conduct a qualitative study. I like to conduct a longitudinal study. You must justify why this particular topic you are choosing a qualitative study. Why you are choosing a quantitative study. Why are you choosing this kind of sampling? So you need to justify. Justify by using literature. Look at this. Most researchers use regression analysis in the area of research on this particular study. And this guy have used regression analysis. And that's the reason why you also choose to use regression. You cannot simply, when an examiner asks you, why did you choose t-test? Why did you choose chi-square? Why did you use correlation? You just say, because this has been proposed in the book. It's not. You have to say, these were chosen because previous study also used the CIS test. In the previous study, they have used this test. Hence, I'm also using the same test for this study. Then you justify. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for you. Okay? Then look at the next one. In addition to the causal research and regression analysis, some authors have also used interrelationship of the same predictors. Okay? So again, I'm quoting example. Okay? So please make sure. In my experience, I've seen most of the time, students writing the chapter 3 do not use literature at all in chapter 3. There is no literature. Cannot. Even in chapter 3, you must have literature. And that's the reason why I've given you the table, the Morgan and Krajewski table. That table is itself is a literature for you. Yeah? For the sample size. Now, why do you choose 200 samples? Why do you choose 250 samples? Why do you choose 500 samples? Again, you need to justify. Previously, studies that we conducted in this topic, they only managed to get 20 samples. They only managed to get 100 samples. Yeah? So you use that to justify. Why you also went for 100 samples? Why you went for 200 samples? Okay? Like in this case, researchers have generally used a sample size between 50 to 75. Okay? From a target population ranging of 300 to 400. Okay? Again, I'm quoting. I'm quoting some people. Right? Even in your last chapter, okay, or chapter 4, maybe chapter 4, your finding, you are reporting your finding in chapter 4, right? When you report your finding in chapter 4, again, you need to write picture. You need to cite. You can't just say, by running the PLS, these are the outcomes of the PLS. These are the findings. Not enough. Not enough. You need to say, in this area, most of the authors or most of the researchers conducted their studies and they have similar findings. If they don't have similar findings, it's okay, right? The findings that have been, drawn from this study is different from the findings that were drawn in US in the year 2012. It's okay. Say, if it's similar, say similar. If it's not similar, just say it's not similar.
The findings of various studies was 7%. So why did you connect this one? What was the purpose of doing another? What kind of research knowledge you have to find?
Good. Now, previous study was done maybe even 6 months ago. There's only a recent study. Now, why do you still want to conduct the same study? The answer is because the previous study was conducted in a different geography. Maybe it was conducted in Laos, and now you're conducting it in Vietnam. Number one. Maybe the previous study was conducted using 4 variables. Now you're conducting this study with another 1 more variable is the 5th variable. Yeah? You inject something new. Right? So there can be many reasons not to justify. Yeah. But please, for chapter 3 and chapter 4, please have some citations. This is really lacking. Even for me, I can tell you that during my time, when I was doing my PhD, my supervisor didn't guide me well to say that even in chapter 3, I need to have literature. So my chapter 3 basically almost nil literature citation. Yeah? That should not be the way. You have to put citation every chapter. That shows your maturity as a researcher. That's the reason why when you read an article for your references, you not only read the variables, you not only read the findings, but you also read the design of the research. You want to know what approach was applied in the research, so that you can write it in your chapter 4 and chapter 5. Okay?
Can I take a chance to get your?
Sure.
There are many people who like to do replication surveys. Now, we are not talking about people who are lazy, who want a shortcut to replicate the survey or research done, but people who are really genuinely passionate. Think of your example, further than example. Some study has been done in Laos. You really want to know as a Malaysian whether this can happen in Malaysia as you say. So, we are not talking about people who are lazy, who just want to borrow the idea and repeat and duplicate the effects. We are not talking about those days, right?
No.
We're really passionate and want to ask whether Malaysia has the same problem, but they have to put additional variables. So, what is your view?
Yeah.
This has happened to any of us.
Yeah. This is for me. This is acceptable. This is acceptable. Okay. It is a doing it in a different setting. The settings are different. Maybe even your samples you're collecting is different. Yeah. For example, if you're collecting data from manufacturing companies in Vietnam versus Malaysia, I can say with fact they are different. You know why? In Malaysia, manufacturing has already been in Malaysia for the last 30 years. In Vietnam, just started about less than 10 years. Even though you're talking about the same sector, the sector is manufacturing. But it's different. So it is not like you're repeating what people say. No, it's not lazy, it's not repeating. It's acceptable. Maybe you're finding or you will come up with something new that you got to inject. You got to put in. You can see here, I mentioned Harris 2012 and Tarrant 2011 result showed that all the 4 variables are significant, but some sub-variables need to be further analyzed. Yeah? So I'm quoting these guys. Here found that all the 4 of the 4 variables are significant. Significant means hypothesis tested. You cannot simply use the word significant. Significant means hypothesis tested, then we can say significant. Okay? Now I think this one, I will take to you through. Okay, I think this is important for you to know this. When you're reading an article, that article quoted someone else. But that someone else paper you don't have with you. Okay? You read an article, this article quoted somebody else. But that paper you don't have. So this is called the third party. The researcher as the third party. Yeah? That's someone else, the first party, second party, and you are the third party. So researcher as a third party. So when you have that situation, you can put it this way. Smith, 1995, studied on something as cited in Browns and Jones in 2000. Yeah? So then you will escape. But if you don't have this, if you don't have Smith's work, and straight away you quote Smith, 1995, studied blah, 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 then you are in trouble. If the examiner asks you, are you very sure you read this? Then you are in trouble. So you better cite the third party researcher clearly. You see, you have a constraint. You don't have the original source of document, but you got a way how to escape from it. You got a way how to get away with it. So that is what it's all about here. Yeah? You don't have the original. Who is the original author? The original author is Smith. But you don't have access to that document. But then you have Browns and Jones. Yeah? So you escape with it. But don't ever say Smith 1995. And if the examiner questions you, that's it. Who knows? If the examiner read that article of Smith and something else been quoted, then you are in trouble. So this is what we call the researcher as the third party. Smith is the first party, Brown second party, and you are the third. This one, it is sometimes intentionally you use this. Good. This shows that you as a researcher, you know how to do citation. You know how to cite. You know how to cite second party researcher. You know how to cite third party researcher. So this also shows that you are a person who has already learned how to do that. Yeah, that's right. Now, while you're writing your literature review, your sentence must have linkage between one sentence and another sentence in the same paragraph. Yeah? Within the same paragraph, one sentence to another sentence, there must be a linkage. Now, how do you link? Some are agreements between the authors. They agree. Some are disagreements. But then how do you link? So these are the words that I give you. Okay? Now I'm giving you these words. You just have to use these words. Linking one sentence to another sentence, you use the word similarly. Author B points to author A word. Yeah? Likewise, author C makes the case that was earlier investigated by Jones. Author D also makes this point. So I'm connecting one sentence to another sentence. I'm teaching you the style of writing. This is the literature writing style. Connecting one sentence to another. Otherwise, you always feel like starting you always start. I've seen students writing literature review. They always start with a name. John 2012. Then Brown 2013. Then, Mary 2014. No, it's not right. You must have the right choice of words to connect them. Connect to each other, one sentence. So these are the words. When you find they have similar thoughts, he also has got 4 variables. This guy also got 2 variables. Okay? But similar thoughts, you connect them to this kind of words. Okay? Like similar, likewise, also makes the point again. Now, when you have disagreement, you just don't write that. Students are worried. When they see disagreement in the teacher, hey, this guy disagreed. This guy disagreed with my variable, so don't want to put wrong. If disagreement, also put it inside that. It's okay. That shows your maturity of writing. That shows that you are being unbiased. You don't take sides of anyone. Given disagreement, what's wrong? Right? If somebody, you say motivation has got to do with productivity. If somebody says motivation has nothing to do with productivity, it's okay, right? In the teacher. That shows you have read enough. You read both sides. The pros and also the cons. Okay? So when you have disagreement, you start words like however. On the other hand, conversely, author B disagrees or author A argues the point. Nevertheless, what author E suggests is in contradiction with author D. Yeah. So these are all disagreements. Choice of word given to you. Okay? So please make use of these words. And when you have these words to connect your sentence, it really makes a difference between a normal thesis and a thesis. Okay? The next is when you're finished with the literature review. This is not a requirement, I'm telling you. This is not a requirement. But to make your work look better and to make your examiner's life easy. You want to make your examiner's life easy, they will make your life easy. You want to make their life tough, they can also make your life tough. So, to make your examiner's life easy, your literature review got 40 pages. Do you think they are trying to read all the 40 pages? So why can't you put a summary table? This, based on my experience as an examiner, I like this. The students put a summary table. And this really means a lot. Put a summary table of all those authors, okay? You may be all those authors who support your variable. Not all. Those authors who support your variable. Disagree, don't put. All those who supported your variable, okay, you put them in a table. Put the author name, put the sample where they conducted, what environment or what sector or what geography they conducted the research, what method they used, and what was the finding. Put in a summary. These are variables. Okay? Atmosphere in a hotel lobby. Atmosphere in a hotel lobby. Like you're staying in the hotel, right? The atmosphere in the hotel lobby. The color makes a difference, right? The music there makes a difference, right? So the lighting. So these are all three things are variable. Independent variable. So I'm just giving an example. So you put the independent variable and then you put the summary like this. This makes your examiner happy. When the examiner is happy, you also make your life. You make the examiner's life miserable, you can also make it miserable. So, towards the end of the revision, no, you put it at before your summary. Because each chapter will have an introduction and will have a summary. So when you summarize your chapter 2, so you summarize. Okay. Now, when you're writing a literature review, these are the words that you can use, choice of words, right? Which are works. Okay? Don't always say, argue, recommend, he say, I say, you say. It's tired of using the word say. Use words like argue. He asserts, he assumes, he challenges, he claims, he contends, he contradicts, he describes, he disputes, he emphasizes, he establishes, he examines, he finds, he maintains. Out of the three researches done, he maintains his variable. He noted, okay, he objects. These are the choice of words that okay. These are reporting verbs. Reporting on someone's work. The choice of words are important, huh? Rather than you repeat the same word again and again and again. Now, some people have this question. Should I use present tense or past tense in my research? You use all the while present tense. Only in chapter 4, you use past tense. Okay, all the while present tense, present tense, present tense. Okay, chapter 4 is your outcome, right? That's why you use past tense. Okay? And chapter 5, when you're making a recommendation, future tense. Okay? That also becomes an issue. Students tend to confuse it. Okay, these are things for your own reading, common errors and all, these are all for your own reading. Okay? Now, so we are done. Now, what I would want you to do is, I want you to work on your proposal. Okay? So, we are done in chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So, now you have a quick tea break or coffee break, and then work on your proposal. Okay? So, it can either be individual work or you want to do. You saw the book, these are all the books that we have. Okay, I think Uma Sekran you should be able to carry on the market. You can, here, NPH, you can get Uma Sekran. In Paradigm Mall, NPH, popular. The rest I'm not too sure. Zygmunt and Uma Sekran you can get. Is Uma Sekran good? Oh, Uma Sekran. You guys are very yeah. Ah, yeah. But I think one second is only about 60 ringgit, 70 ringgit. And you can get it from popular. Here you have popular bookstore in Paradise Mall. If what is mistaken, I think it's level 2 or level 3. Yeah, you can get it there. CCT. So this was yours. Yours, right? Yeah, I sent it to you. Morning. Yes, we're doing online shopping. That's 22. What about yeah, I'll send. I'll give you a more. Hi. Hey, how you doing, man? Huh? Good. Okay, how any discussion baru? Shall we topic baru for us? Yes.
I just have to check. Em biết tôi nói gì rồi. Em biết tôi nói gì rồi. Hiểu chứ em nói là Tuấn kia chứ không phải Tuấn Hải.
exam.
Oh, this will
The
be-
first day.
Oh, yes.
So I can only handle one.
Somebody will actually somebody will promote the slides in.
CSR is something we can do earlier.
I'm happy with anyone. Then your audience is also
Giờ coi mấy hiệu quả chị. Trời ơi, ôi chứ. Ôi chứ.
We always started with this. Get it out and finish You always put I know he used to like the white space company base in Jakarta.
Correct.
That's right. Intellectual property. It goes with you.
Tomorrow we have to do homework. Correct? Đúng rồi, đúng rồi, đúng rồi. Đúng rồi. No, no, no. Dạ, con phải mở. Em mới mặc. Có hai đứa luôn. Ủa sao mờ nhưng mà em được ăn mờ thì phải đâu Cái gì anh vậy?
Em sẽ làm đầu tiên đi học nhé.
Remember his name, don't worry.
con little man. My brain
Okay, what's the difference? Good, okay. Okay.
Now look at Tokyo.
This time you need to be here.
One more. If you all go in. This is very important. We will check this one. Online. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Semua aku you, right?
So how you progressing? You work? Okay, okay, team. This morning you already gone through with the lecture on the research design method. Apart from what they taught you, there are few more methods that they are able to take into account because those methods are not highly demanded. Not many students would want to do that kind of method of study. Okay? For example, case study. Okay, not many students. And the other one is Delphi method. Delphi method. Not many would want to do. But something Delphi means what is Delphi? Delphi method is like expert opinion. You select a group of people, maybe 10 or 15 of them. It's another method of study. You go in, you talk to them, and then you get them to answer a couple of your questions. And you come back, okay? Based on their response, you set a new question for them. A few new questions, and you go back, and then you do them. And then you see whether there is consistency in the response between the first and the second one. So similarly, you do it for 3 hours. Okay? That is healthy. Okay? It is a very detailed study. For example, it's a qualitative type of research, but you can still quantify it. Yeah, you can still quantify it. Very recently, one of my students was actually a CEO of a company. This lady did the study. It was basically about corporate governance practice in the company. It was very tough. It was very tough. But she did a very good job. Finally, she succeeded. Maybe what I'll do tomorrow, I will share with you, her approach on the testing method. I also had a tough time supervising her on that because the Delphi method sounds very easy, but it is not easy. People may think Delphi method is an easy method. It's not easy. If you think about Delphi method for a PhD, it's not easy. Okay? That's the reason why we didn't want to cover. Because not many, out of maybe 20 students, maybe one student will be not covered. Okay? Like medical research, you do Delphi. Patients and so on. same patient again and again and again. That is few rounds. That's calculated. Okay. And second one is normally therapy is also conducted when you have intervention processes. Intervention process. Yeah. So you want to see whether your intervention, prove whether there is, your intervention really works or not. So that is therapy. Now the other one that we did not really cover is actually a qualitative study. Qualitative study. Many students feel that qualitative study is an easy way out when they find difficult with mathematics. Please take that perception away from them. Take the away from them. Qualitative is not an easy shortcut method. No. Qualitative study for me is an in-depth study. It's an in-depth study. Very, very detailed study. I still remember my supervisor that I told him that I plan to do a qualitative study. He responded to me and he said, go back home and watch this movie. He said, watch the movie Gorilla. Movie. Watch the movie. And then come back and tell me about the movie. So I was thinking, why is he asking me to watch a movie? So I watched the movie and went back to him. Then he said, how did the woman and the King Kong communicate? When there is no common language for both of them. Yeah. One is an animal, another one is a human being. But how can they communicate? And how can the King Kong understand what she's trying to say? And how can she understand what the King Kong is trying to say? Meaning to say, they are very closely, interacted. So much so that they can even understand and study the sign language. The expression, the facial expression, the emotion they can study. And that's the reason why they can communicate. So we say, case study. When you go for a case study interview with the participant, you sit down with the participant, you talk to the person, you have to understand when he answers you, he gives a response to you, you need to understand the facial response. How is the facial expression? Is he or she sincerely unseen, or just for the sake of empathy? And then you need to probe your mind to put a counter second question to the person. And it is an observation that you need to do. So that's case study quality. So don't think that qualitative study is out. Don't think that qualitative study is easy way out. I can just easily do it. You want I can show you on the table, I'm just reading it. And how this thing is qualitative study. So that's what we're doing. It's about even about business incubators. Business incubators. Business incubators. Incubator model. You have something in your mind, an idea, a technology, and you don't know how to commercialize the technology or the idea, right? So business incubators is give the idea to them. They will be able to think through the model, okay, and they will help you through the licensing, the franchising, whatever needed, until the stage of commercialization, sourcing, finance, funding, and everything. This is a tough research. It's a very tough research. So this research is about business incubator model and using a health scorecard model to measure. This is a case study. It's on my table. I'm reading it. I'm telling you. So that's the reason why we didn't take you through the two things, the multi-method technique and also the case study. But however, as a school, if any one of our students is interested in this method, we are there to support them. We have supervisors who have got the experience to support through multi-method. whether you are ready to take the challenge or not. It's just an alert to you, that's all. But we are there to support you. Whatever method you want to do, we will support you. Okay. So we have covered with you the methodology of the methodology. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 is finished. Once you're done with these three chapters, and tomorrow, what you're going to learn through the workshop here, basically, what you need to do is that don't keep thinking, and thinking about the topic. Just ink it. Just ink. And just write. Write what comes to your mind. It can be a sentence that doesn't make sense. That's okay. Just write an email us and just write a sentence. If you say that I'm not ready, I'm still thinking, forever you'll be thinking, and time and tide never wait for you. They don't wait for you. Suddenly you will see that, hey, 6 months is already over there. So don't go with that. Okay? You don't want to do so. So just think and send it out. Okay? Once you send to your supervisor or you send to Dr. Harvey, your burden is finished. Your weight is now you are light. And you don't feel the burden. It's done. You send. So let them do that. So don't wait. You already now, you already have the energy, you have the knowledge already. Just whatever you have in your mind, write it and take it out. Okay? And as you can see that we are continuously getting the right people to come in to supervise your. It's now, I think you would have noticed that one gentleman walked into the guy at the end. Okay? So it's in Australia, he's a few years old. He's a very seasoned supervisor. Okay? So we are continuously getting these kind of people to come in and support you. So whether you are ready to do that, maybe I don't know how many of you will be assigned to do. So what's tomorrow is normally to take next to that to be assigned to. Any questions you have to know? Any questions? No question.
Yesterday you mentioned about the distribution of all forms. What kind of forms?
Oh, did Dr. Reza give you?
Also today I was share about how to calculate sampling framework and other things.
Okay, they share with you. Okay. If you look at today's my notes on this, yeah. If you look here, to make your life easy, don't need to go through the calculation. Okay? Don't waste your time on doing the calculation all. Look at page number 6. Look at page number 6, this one, this page here, page number 6. You see the table? PowerPoint number 34. This one. Yeah, this one. So my suggestion is don't waste time doing the mathematical calculation. Just look at this table, Register Morgan 1970. Just look at the population. What is the population? From the population, you know the sample. Why don't you go through difficulty, mathematically calculating or wasting your time? Just follow this. Okay. And that's the reason why I captured this to make your life easy. Of course, if you want to do the calculation, then you can go to the calculation this way. But you just follow this. And you can take this table and put it in your write-up. Statistical Morgan table 1970 as recommended with a population of 100, you need a sample of 80. Yeah, that is. No one will challenge you. If you capture exactly the case, no one is going to challenge you. Accepted, worldwide accepted. Or you want to go through Uma Secret. Uma Secret don't have a table, but Uma Secret they have a guideline. They have a guideline. Therefore, social science studies, minimum. Each variable you need to have 10 respondents for each one variable. Assuming you've got 4 independent and 1 dependent, so 5 variables, you need to have 50. That's Uma Secret guideline. But don't table. So far, this is what I found. Sorry, I'm not able to take you through these in the morning. I have to ask my colleagues to take you through. I hope you all already make good use of it. Because the way I go to these scales, I spend a lot of time using examples of the scales. What I owe you today is the template for proposal. Yeah, template for proposal. So give me some time. I'll get the template for you by tomorrow. Tomorrow is an important day. You need to be in the workshop. Please just learn from Dr. Iramani, and the fact it's a very patient guy and a good guy. For me, I tell you, he's the expert. You are not he's the expert. He has been teaching in many universities. USF and UBTN. He's the expert. But today you just enjoy it. So please make good use of it. Okay, learn from the real source. Okay, with that, I leave it to you your time. I am not too sure how much you have done your work. Whatever it is, tomorrow, after here finish, I'll see you for half an hour. During that time, I'll take up the video. And also, I'll take you through. Right, so with that, thank you for the day, and if you want to stay on and do your work, please, all you okay. Oh, tomorrow, because it's a computer. So we don't have tomorrow is the
They want to take a quick group photo in front of MSP downstairs with your friend.
okay.
Now,
Sure. Oh, sampling size. Okay. Sampling size for the population. But just taking the sampling size, determining the sampling size. I'll check. But this is the end of the population as the sample. Oh yeah. Oh, I send it to you. Yeah. Okay, but tomorrow I'll give you the very structured one. I'll give you chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Can you email me online? Yeah. You email me yesterday, yeah? I think
Yes, sir. Thấy tháo rồi.
Còn nữa mà em.
Dạ.
Dr. Ben, ready next? Right. Dr. Ben? Yeah.
Em sẽ ra như vậy là tốt.
Dạ sẽ.
Rồi, vậy thì cảm ơn.
Em đi để sân khai. Đúng rồi, em nói em có đặt lại mà. Tại vì mọi người rồi hết đã là em các bạn áo cho.
Em mượn đi.
Nó động nó không có ro. Em phải may cái đồ.
Không bay cũng được đâu.
Không cái đó vừa thôi. Để cho chị Hà sau đi. Anh lấy gì ở dưới.
Em mượn cái áo này mà em đổi lại. Đi tomorrow one rush.
Sorry, I take care.
Tomorrow thì
Just now the photo, I never give. Can you ask Sarah to send? Just now the one thing.
đi làm sẽ rồi. Đi lại thì
Em phải đi photo cái trường cái làm sao đi. Không bây giờ làm trường bắt đi làm chẳng đi ăn mà. Để chị đi đợi đi. Cái new cái gì là new one cái ầu ầu anh làm việc lại là thiếu đi.